Today, we're diving into a really frustrating corporate paradox. You know that feeling of being everywhere and nowhere at the exact same time?
So let's paint a picture here. By all accounts, you're visible. People know your name. They know your face. You're a fixture in the office, a known quantity on all the calls.
And it's not just you. Your work is seen, too. The reports, the decks, the code, it's all out there. There's a very clear trail of your effort and your contributions. Oh, and your calendar? It's probably a nightmare. It's packed, right? Back to back with all the important meetings, the syncs, the updates. You are definitely, physically, in the room. And yet, with all of that going on, all this presence, something's off. There's this nagging feeling that the equation just isn't working out. Which brings us to the big, infuriating question. If you're so visible, then why, when it really matters, for a promotion, for credit on a huge win, for a key decision, do you suddenly feel like you've disappeared? Look, if that feels a little too real, you're not going crazy. There's a quiet system at play that separates being seen from being valued. And today, we're going to pull the curtain back on exactly how it works. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the paradox itself, then dig into that painful gap between perception and reality. We'll explore the psychology behind it all, look at the real damage it does, and then, most importantly, we'll give you a roadmap to go from just being visible to actually being valued. All right, so first, let's talk about what this paradox looks like on the surface. This is what we call the recognition trap, where all the signs are telling you that you're doing everything right. You know the drill. You're always getting pulled into discussions. You're the one giving the weekly updates. Your name is tagged on all the important emails. You might even hear things from your boss like, "You've got great visibility," or "You're in all the right rooms." It all feels like you're making progress.
But all of this creates a really powerful illusion, doesn't it? And it makes you wonder, does all this presence actually mean you have any influence? Are you really a player in the game, or are you just on the field?
And that's the heart of the conflict, isn't it? It's this deep, often invisible gap between the visibility you think you have and what it actually means when push comes to shove. Let's really break this down. The perception is you're included in all the key discussions. But the reality? The actual decision was probably made in a 10-minute chat between two execs that you weren't part of. The meeting you were in, that was just to get everyone on the same page. The perception is you're the one presenting all the updates. But the reality? When the project is a huge success, the credit goes to a leader who told a better story about it, even if they barely touch the day-to-day work. The perception is you're tagged in all the important emails. You're in the loop. But the reality is, being in the loop is passive. It doesn't mean your opinion matters or that you have any real power to change things.
And it all just boils down to this one simple, brutal phrase. You are seen, but you are not counted. Your hard work is noticed, but when it's time to add up who really made an impact, your name just isn't on the list.
So why does this happen? Is everyone out to get you? Probably not. It's really about psychology. And it comes down to two totally different kinds of visibility that we often confuse. First up, you've got what's called operational visibility. This is the one we're all taught to chase. It's about being seen doing the work. Answering emails late at night, closing tickets, giving status reports. It proves you're busy, you're reliable, you're a doer. But then there's this other thing, strategic visibility. And this is a completely different ballgame. This isn't about being busy, it's about being seen as the person who shapes the outcome. You become linked to the win itself, not just the tasks that led to it. And this kind of visibility, it's built in the rooms where the story of success gets written. And this is the trap. So many talented people think if they just do more work, more meetings, more operational stuff, that it'll eventually turn into real recognition. But the system just isn't built that way. Right, you have to get inside the minds of leaders. They are drowning in data and status reports. What cuts through all that noise is a good story, a simple narrative. They don't remember the person who checked off the most boxes. They remember the person who owned the story of success. Exactly. It's like being an extra in a movie. You can be in a ton of scenes, but if you never say anything that moves the plot forward, you're just part of the scenery. Your visibility becomes background noise. And, being stuck in this trap, it's more than just a stalled career. It has a real corrosive impact. We call it the sideline effect. It starts with total confusion. You think, I'm doing everything they told me to do. Why isn't it working? So your logical reaction is to just work even harder. more hours, more meetings, more visibility. But that just leads to pure frustration because doing more of the same gets you the same results. And that frustration turns into resentment. And pretty soon, you're just burned out. You start to pull back and you just accept that this is your role. And that's the really subtle part. The system isn't trying to hide you. In fact, it loves your hard work. It just quietly, gently sidelines you from the conversations that actually matter, the ones about strategy and credit and your future. Okay, so that's the problem, the psychology, and the damage it can do. But let's shift gears and talk about the solution, because you're not powerless here. There is absolutely a way to go from being just seen to being truly valued. This right here is the biggest mental shift you have to make. Stop chasing more visibility. It's a dead end. Your new goal is to take control of the story being told about your work. It's a shift from quantity to quality. So what does this actually look like? 3 things. First, you have to stop talking about owning tasks and start talking about owning outcomes. Don't be the person who built the deck. Be the person who drove the sales increase the deck was about. Second, change how you talk about your work. Stop giving a laundry list of activities. Lead with the impact. Instead of saying, I finished the survey, say, I found 3 customer insights that are going to reduce churn. And third, you have to get ruthless with your time. You've got to start getting out of those endless update meetings and find your way into the real conversations, the pre-meetings, the debriefs, the rooms where the actual decisions get made. The end game here is to fuse your name to successful outcomes. When people think about a big win, your name should pop into their head immediately. The goal is to make it impossible for anyone to tell the story of that success without making you one of the main characters. Okay, so let's make this super practical. Your next move isn't about working harder. It's about observing smarter. You need to become a student of your own company, and that starts by asking some different questions. First, and you have to be really honest here, where do decisions actually happen? Is it in that big official meeting, or is it in the quick chat between 2 VPs in the hallway afterward? Your mission is to find the real arenas of power, not the ceremonial ones. Next, you've got to identify the storytellers. In every company, there's a handful of people whose opinions just carry more weight. They're the ones who decide which projects and which people get labeled as important. Find out who they are. And finally, here is your homework. Take whatever project is on your desk right now. Before you do another thing, just stop. Ask yourself, how can I frame this whole thing not as a list of tasks, but as a story of impact? A story with a clear beginning, middle, and end. A story where you delivered a real, tangible result. Answering that question, that is how you finally stop just being seen and start being counted.